Welcome, dear friends, to Cardiac Radio at 11 p.m., nourishing our souls with the laws of love. This book that comes to us to explain the reasons for our sufferings. Previous lives, choices, good choices, poor choices, and today the outcome is inevitable, right? But what do we do? And in this book, Emmanuel, the spirit author, comes to you and me to explain in a very educational way questions and answers, 8 chapters. He comes to teach us about the spiritist understanding on suffering. We've studied chapter 1, spiritual causes of illnesses. Chapter 2, we just finished, professional and social choices. Chapter 3, we're going to study. Yes, chapter 4. Chapter 4. I will tell you the titles. Chapter 3, we have studied chapter 2, family relatives. Chapter 3, we have just studied social professional choices. Chapter 4, we'll let you know soon. We have already studied chapter 5, which is obsession. We have studied chapter 7, which is about the treatment of illnesses and spiritism. And today, we're entering a new chapter, consequences of the past. Chapter 6. This is a chapter that talks about the law of action and reaction. It's such an important law that we need to teach our children every day, each and every day. Everything we do, there'll be consequences. How can we manage it? So here we come with our beautiful chapter 6, consequences of the past. We're going to study the first 2 questions, which talk about our past in the present. Don't you wonder as well? We all wonder about the consequences of the past and how I can identify it. But where? That's the question that was asked to Emmanuel. How can we understand the results of our previous existences? The answer by Emmanuel is always very objective. He says, to understand the results of previous lives, it is sufficient for the human being to observe their own tendencies, opportunities, struggles or trials, struggles and trials, let's say it this way. 4 elements. 4 elements. So, in the Spirit's book by Kardec, there is, and I'm opening here in my Kindle version, it's the Spirit's book. Hold on a second, it was just here, and it is here. It's in the part that talks about forgetfulness of the past. And pretty much around question and answer. Okay. Instinctive tendencies. Okay, friends. When you go to question and answer, 390 onwards, it talks about 392, forgetfulness of the past. We forget. So how do we know? And Kardec is going to use an expression, instinctive tendencies. It's his comment to question 393 when he says, if during our corporeal life we do not have a precise memory of what we were and of what good or bad things we did in our previous lifetimes, we nevertheless have an intuition of them. Hence, our instinctive tendencies are a reminiscence of our past, about which our conscience, which presents a desire we have conceived to no longer commit the same wrongs, warns us that we must resist. So here we have our instinctive tendencies. And here Emmanuel says, 4 elements to identify our past in the present. So here we come, dear friends, with our whiteboard. Oh yeah, if you are listening to this, visualize what we're gonna say. But if you can watch it, let's look at each other and at the same time, draw it. Shall we? Oops. Okay, we're gonna draw. And here it is. First thing he says to us, observe 1, our instinctive tendencies. And what does that mean? Those are the things we do automatically. You can see it from childhood. In childhood, children are so different. They may be alike, but they're different. You may have several kids to take care of, and you see. And if you have one child, you can see. Since the belly, the mother can feel, if we pay attention. And when the baby is there, you can tell. Usually, when we have a very difficult pregnancy, it's a sign that we need to work on that spirit, on that relationship. It's a sign. It's already written there. It's a case to be worked upon with love. But it requires love. We need to observe the things that we tend to do. There are children who are easy to make an effort. If you ask them, oh, learn this, they don't know, they make effort. But some of them are like, oh, I don't know, I tried already once. So it's a sign that the spirit quits easily. We need to keep an eye. Instinctive tendencies. Suicidal minds quit on things easily. So we have to keep an eye and since childhood help them. There are children who are born very happy, joyful, optimistic. They learned it in previous lives. Now it's second nature. But there are children who come full of anguishes, nostalgia, melancholy. And in those children, we need to implement Dr. Martin Seligman's program, The Optimistic Child, which is a book, and boost optimism, hope, and joy in that child. Because that's why we reincarnate, to learn to do the good. So observing our instinctive tendencies, and even now as adults, now we're in charge, we look at ourselves, oh, I am always impatient because I've been impatient in previous lives. Now I'm better. Imagine before, Mamma Mia. Oh, now I'm easily allowing me to be, unfocused, idle, lazy. Well, it's a sign that in previous lives we've been there, done that. So in this life we need to make an effort to be useful at all times. And our dear Emmanuel says, our tendencies and our opportunities. Who would imagine that in our opportunities in life, I'm going to put it all, struggles and trials, tests. So opportunities. In our opportunities, we're going to see our previous lives. Somebody calls you out of the blue for a job you never imagined. You need a job and you're like, oh, I don't believe, why am I going to do this? And you have no choice because you need the money and you need to do the job. And you think, but this is not my thing. Can I share a story with you? True account. In Brazil, old days, someone who in a previous life not only drank alcohol a lot, but made others drink a lot. In this life, this person felt the call to help people who are doing hemodialysis. Dialysis. You know, when the kidneys don't work properly to filter the body? And now they're there helping people. In that opportunity, we see ourselves in the past redeeming ourselves. In our professions, in our useful times, opportunities, we see our past. In our struggles, yes, with ourselves. How many people have a hard time being optimistic? They easily surrender to negative thinking. In previous lives, they were masters of negativity. So now we observe ourselves into that, the addictions of the past, and in the tests and the trials. Somebody who has a problem stealing will go through tests, opportunities to steal, but they have to refrain. So the tests we go through dictate, they give us signs of whom we were. We need to study ourselves, self-knowledge. Tonight, we were studying at the Spiritus Society of Virginia the book Memoirs of a Suicide. And in that book, there is a chapter, the very end of it, chapter 17, 18. It talks about know yourself. And in that part of the book, they show in the spiritual realm at the university level what they call moral therapy. That moral therapy is so important, and it's exactly what Emmanuel is teaching us now in this question and answer. Observe ourselves so we can adjust. And there is a particular excerpt of that book, which is all about hope. The book Memoirs of a Suicide by Ivone Pereira Camilo is a wonderful book to inspire hope in all of us. And it shows that right now we are in the world in the transition to regeneration. So you and I need to focus on regenerating ourselves, observing those past tendencies and saying, I no longer want that. I no longer need it. I need to focus on the new and go through the pathway of regeneration. Right now, we're going to read another question and answer that complements the first one. In essence, how do we understand our debts or advantages that we bring from previous lives? If I did a whole lot of good in previous lives, I'm going to bring that in this life. But if I didn't, I'll bring that in this life too, vibrationally. But how? Now Emmanuel is going to explain to us so we understand more about ourselves. When we studied in the past, says Emmanuel, when we did studies in the right way in the past, even if they were a long time ago, they give us today respectable professional titles. So, for example, somebody in this life, they get a PhD, they get a Nobel Prize. They didn't start it in this life. Lives ago, they were dedicating themselves to the study of sciences. And in this life, they continued, and now they have these respectable titles, which are for the earth, but show to us that it's a conquest of the spirit. But on the other hand, says Emmanuel, the mistakes we made, they give us a lot of pain in our conscience. and they ask for reparation. If we plant a precious tree, it is natural that we'll see it full of useful fruits for others and for ourselves. But if we dedicate ourselves in that, no wonder, he says, we're going to be worried about coming to terms with that debt. Choices. Choices. Right now we have many choices, and we live in a very free world that allows us to indulge so much, from eating to sleeping to entertaining to working. But we need to think of how the choice we're making will produce good fruits for everyone in us. So this is how Emmanuel is reminding us that in the way we feel, we're going to identify the things we need to do. We'll give an example. Yvonne Pereira, the author of the medium of the book, Memoirs of a Suicide, she says that she was born very anguished because she was a suicidal. She was a suicidal spirit 2 lives in a row. Yvonne Pereira says that she was born with all these anguishes, nightmares. Thanks to Spiritism, she understood it. She started working and helping for others, disciplining herself. She wrote this book, and it took 30 years to be published. But she said the date this book, Memoirs of a Suicide, was published, the anguishes that she carried for so many years in her life disappeared. And the more she published the books that nowadays help so many, these books helped so many and relieved herself. She was repairing with the world the damages that she did to herself and others. Yvonne Pereira is a phenomenal medium that Chico Xavier said, it's amazing to see a spirit that left the valley of suicides reincarnated in such turmoil and disturbance and was able to overcome herself and become a wonderful instrument. Friends, there's always hope. You and I need to believe in the supremacy of the good and visualize ourselves sowing every day seeds of joy, seeds of hope, seeds of love, seeds of health, seeds of healing, seeds of love, seeds of compassion. You're tired of hearing it? Hopefully not. We're sowers. Let's choose the good. Little things, little friends, and then bigger things. Naturally, everything organically. We don't need to be worried about, oh, I create this and only one person is benefited. You're saving one person. You're helping, and I say saving, quote unquote, because only the person saves themselves. But we are helping them out. We are reaching out. We are actually repairing. So let us then, in the next 24 hours, observe the past today. Our past today in our tendencies, in our opportunities, struggles, tasks, and make choices. Choices today, even if it is in a thought, to say, God, I love you because you give me hope. Hope that this shall pass. Hope that I will overcome this, that I'll be useful, more useful than I've been. You and I will be practicing this inner observance and at the same time, praise God for the opportunity of beginning anew in this reincarnation. We wish you a lot of love and a hug to you, dear friends. Many blessings. And until tomorrow, God willing.